Hey, good evening, KS Guncom. It's Lyle Cadell back here with you, and hope you have had, excuse me, a great 4th of July, and enjoyed your time with family and friends, and blown up some money. Joined some freedom, and we always love that. So, back tonight again with one of our live fires, and tonight we're going to discuss AR pistols, man. I mean, how much more freedom can you get than that? Especially with some of the changes that the ATF has made with some of their things. So we'll give a little bit of time and let some folks join in. I know some folks were messaging me and still are actually. It's while my phone's ringing. And while we're doing that, we'll let everybody introduce themselves. So starting off with Clint down there, man. Tell us who you are, what you do, and all that type of stuff.
Okay, well, I am William Turner. I'm the owner of Williams Gun Works. We do custom guns, custom holsters, stuff like that out of the shop. Certified instructor, and as of late, security contractor.
Awesome.
That's about it.
And you have an example of an AR pistol behind you?
Right here. Yep, right here.
All right.
It's an 11.5-inch Aero Precision.
Mark, tell us a little bit about Fit and Fire, man.
Get off the mute button there. Yeah, so Fit and Fire YouTube channel put together to kind of meld my passion for fitness, working out, boxing, jiu-jitsu, passion from the Second Amendment, and just kind of throwing all that stuff together, having a good time with it. And yeah, super excited to chat about pistols.
Awesome. Excuse me. And do you have one too, don't you?
Yeah, so I got this brand new one right here. It's pretty nice. But no, I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Sorry, wrong one. This is my Aero Precision build. I'm a big fan of Aero Precision. I think that they are one of the best companies out there that meld high quality with decent prices as well. And I've been doing a lot of upgrades to this one from my original build, so I can talk about that a little bit later.
Awesome, man. Well, Derek, you're on the end, brother. Tell us.
All right. So my name is Derek. I am an admin on the Kansas GunCon page. Not anywhere near as active as Lyle. This is Lyle's baby, and he does a great job running it. So I just stay in the shadows and usually approve people and keep the riffraff out. I spent some time in the Marine Corps way back in the day. Makes me feel old thinking about how long ago that was. And yeah, so AR pistols are kind of an interesting thing, and it should be really an enjoyable conversation, I think, about this tonight.
We're missing one guy right now, and that is John from Crusader Arms. He'll be joining us a little bit late, so we'll be looking for him coming along here. And he is an AR pistol owner. So, and he's built one. So, but I wish he was here right now. But I know he's got the kids at the soccer tonight and everything. So he's doing that thing. So I understand completely.
Do you want to kick us off with our history lesson?
That's where I was going, brother.
Look at that. All right, so we were trying to decide
lay us some truth down, man. Dr. Cox.
All right. So what we originally were talking about was obviously doing this on the 4th. That wouldn't really work because it's usually on a Wednesday. We just knew that it would kind of interfere with not only our plans but everybody else's. So we had originally thought maybe earlier than the 4th of July, kind of leading up and prompting everybody for it. We settled on the 5th, and I thought it was really interesting because I was just kind of looking up to see maybe what historical context the 5th of July has. And interestingly, July 5th of 1775, the Continental Congress adopted the Olive Branch Petition, expressing hope for reconciliation with Britain. However, King George III refused to even look at the petition and instead issued a proclamation declaring the colonists to be in a state of open rebellion. Now, I find that really interesting because I kind of feel like, especially this specific episode, we're talking about something that I wouldn't say necessarily circumvents the NFA, but we'd be hard-pressed to think that there's not a reason why all these pistol braces are selling so hotly. I think it's really interesting that we parlay back and forth with the ATF all the time, trying to get different rulings and different theories and, get a real answer from them on what all of this stuff actually can and cannot be done, shouldering them, whatever. So in essence, we're constantly in this olive branch petition. And there have been times, and you all know, not just, the moderators here, but the viewers, you guys have seen somebody reaches out to the ATF wondering about something, they change their mind. And they say, no, that's illegal. So I just thought that was a really interesting history point to kind of tie in with tonight.
So we are glad for Happy Treason Day yesterday, and loved some of the memes that were out there. What was the one that Ram Precision shared, Mark? I can't remember.
So Ram Precision showed a kind of a lot of rebelist, the Rebel Alliance, if you're a Star Wars freak like me, in a trench, and it said something to the effect of this holiday is granted to you by citizens, by armed citizens. So I think that really rang true to just how ignited a lot of us are with the Second Amendment, and just how on fire we are for trying to protect our God-given right to self-preservation and the ability to keep, own, and use firearms for our self-protection.
I believe Mr. William Turner had a meme yesterday too, if I remember right. I can't remember what it was, but what did you share?
I had numerous memes. I probably had 4 or 5 that I put on there. One of my favorite ones was one that said, "Dear John, screw you, sincerely, colonist." That was actually my favorite. It wasn't spelled out like that though. But I think John had the great one where it was it said, "No, you don't understand. The winner gets today off." That was the deal, or something like that. So, and then of course the other one was, "Have fun at work today, England," or something like that. So, yeah, we like to poke fun at the British because, I mean, you think about it, we took a ragtag bunch of guys and took the most powerful army back in the day and kicked their butt back across the Atlantic. So, that's just kind of the American style. That's how we are.
That's right, America, man. And by the way, I will give a shout out to, let me pop it up there, shout out to the dudes that do, if I can get it pointed in the right direction, anyhow.
Other way.
Yeah, it's all screwed up. Anyhow, so that's my left hand, which is right above. There we go, right there, because it's mirrored. These 2 flags were done by Copper Shot Creation out of Nevada, Missouri. And so if you want to get a hold of one, be sure to get in touch with them, please. They do awesome work. Those are abstract art. They're one of a kind, each and every one of them, and they are done with a gun, believe it or not. Gun and paint and balloons full of paint. So, I mean, it's just a really cool process. And in fact, I got my bicentennial flag up there my wife bought me because I was born in '76. So try to keep it America around here. So, but anyhow, let's start the discussion tonight, guys, and get to it. And then John can join in when we were going to have another guy who is Fabian. He was going to be with us. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust my camera here. And Fabian is he had something come up. We'll just put it that way, and that's fully understandable. And so, no big deal that he won't be with us. But so just to start out with, now both of you all have Aero precision builds, Clint and Mark. I'm curious, are they the same lower? Did you guys use the same lower?
So
go ahead, Mark.
okay, I used the that was my AR pistol was my very first AR pistol build, and I used the X15 lower on it. Since then, I've become a big fan of the M4E1 lowers that Aero Precision does. They mimic a billet lower, but they're not. They're still forged. So for those people who like the look but still want forged lowers, Aero Precision M4E1s are the way to go. But this was my first build for a lower, specifically designed for a lower. So I just went with what I knew. Aero Precision, like I said, has been around for a long time, and they do great work. So yeah,
tell us about that gun. I mean, from top to bottom, just show us the build, and then we'll go to Clint on his.
Sure. Yeah. So this has changed since its original inception. First, to begin with, I had a Shockwave blade for the brace on the back, but I've switched it out with a SB Tactical SBL, which I really like. It has a really, really tight lockup. I've got a Geisley supercharging handle on it. Aero Precision upper. I like to marry my upper and lowers together whenever possible. I'm going to make a hypocrite out of myself because I have another build that I'm doing right now that's not going to be matched, but I'll get into that later. I've got a Palmetto State Armory 10.5-inch barrel on that, and I really think that the 10.5 is about as short as you want to go for anything that's going to run reliably and be able to still stabilize that round at distance about 200 to 300 yards. Manticore Arms transformer rail on this, Magpul backup sights, AT3 Tactical red dot, which is basically a clone of the Bushnell TRS-25, which I think is a really, really great red dot, fairly inexpensive, and it's really rugged. Daniel Defense pistol grip, and then a Geisley SSAE trigger on it. So super smooth. And then the brake on it is the Yankee Hill Machinery Phantom 2. So it's threaded for a suppressor. And hopefully I'll have a Yankee Hill suppressor, I would say probably in the next month or two to test out from Silencer Shop. So working up on that. And that's basically it. I mean, the sling I have on it, it's a, let's see, Blue Force Gear clone, I think. I think it's either a clone or it's the actual thing. I can't remember, but a sling's a sling, no big deal. So that's what I'm rolling with. And then
what tube is on there?
Just a standard carbine length gas tube. It's I don't even remember the manufacturer. I think it's a Yankee Hill manufacturing, to be honest with you, and just a no-name low profile gas block. This was a budget build for me, so I wasn't dumping a lot of money. Since then, I've kind of upgraded things going along. This has been kind of my suppressor pistol, I should say, the one I've been testing a lot of the suppressors on. So yeah, it's good to go. Had a lot of fun shooting it, and it's nice small compact package for me to leave up next to the bed. So if anything goes bump in the night, I'm ready to roll.
Is that, I mean, just to give guys that are looking at doing a build, what kind? I'm not going to ask you how much exactly you spent on the original and the concept, but I mean, what was our price range really?
So you can do, and that's one of the reasons why I like to build, is because you can really control your price point. Now, actually, if you go out and you buy one, you don't have to worry about making sure your headspace and timing's correct when you marry up the barrel to the upper and all that stuff. If you have an adjustable gas block, if that's something that you're into, that's already going to be tuned from the manufacturer as well. But if you're not into those types of things, if you're not really too concerned about it, because to be frankly honest with you, ARs are pretty simple to build and you can't really mess up the headspace. So you can really control the price point on this. Originally with the original trigger, I had a Strike Industries enhanced charging handle on it with the Shockwave blade brace on it, and then the quad rail that came with it too. I think I was looking at about $600 for the complete build.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
the barrel is a Palmetto State Armory, so it was like, it came in right at $100. So, you know, it's a decent barrel. It's a 1-in-7 twist, and it's you know, chrome lined and all that jazz. So it's a budget barrel. I don't expect it to be 1 MOA accurate. I think I can pull 1.5 MOA out of this barrel, but I'm not concerned about shooting at distance on this, and I don't think that an AR pistol should be built to shoot for distance. So yeah, I think you can get away with pretty easily building an AR pistol for, you know, if you're really cheap out, anywhere between $400, and then if you start throwing in a whole bunch of upgrades, I mean, the sky's the limit at that point.
Cool. It's good news for a lot of people that are looking to do it. So we'll get to discussing more. Clint, can you show us your build?
Okay, so I've also got an Aero Precision. It's the X15 lower, matching upper, and matching handguard. This pistol started out as a 300 blackout, and then I went to a 5.56. It's a 11-inch carbine length setup. Barrel's a black hole weaponry, and then it's got I'm trying to remember the name of the brake I put on it, because I just basically, I don't know if you guys can see that.
Yeah.
Man, I can't believe I can't remember the name of the brake that's on it, but it's loud regardless. Magpul sights for backups, running a Holosun 503C, and then BCM hand stop and a Streamlight Hl X, which is, if I remember rightly, like 1,000 lumen weapon light. I'm not running an extending charging handle or anything like that, just because it gets caught on my gear. I'm not really a fan of extended handles. And then it's got a POF ambi safety. Let's see, I believe that's a Mission First grip that's been modified by me. Kind of hard to see it. And then
we can see it there a little bit.
And then it's a CAC brace that's already set up for my length of pull and everything like that. The sling is just a very simple sling that I actually made. It's actually attached just with paracord, and it's already set up for the way it hangs on me. I take this with me every day. It sits in the passenger seat. I don't leave it chambered, but I do leave a loaded mag in it. But it's nice, compact. It is noisy. It's loud, but I mean, it was only built for one thing, and that is just to take it with me wherever I can get, wherever I can. So, yeah, that's about it. Not much to it. It's a pretty simple little gun, but it's got everything on it that I would need. So, and I think as far as cost, I think I've got like maybe $800 in the whole gun.
That's included, right, and everything?
Yeah, if I remember right, I think monetarily I have $800 in it. I bought the gun as a blackout really cheap because it was really screwed up. So, I mean, I bought the whole gun to start with for 300-ish, and then tore it all down, had Ryan Cerakote it. Of course, that didn't cost me that much. And then went ahead and started adding the accessories together to it. So, yeah, the most expensive thing on it is the hollow sun, and then the barrel, and that's it. So,
deal. Hey, Derek, do we have anybody in the chat room right now? I know there's some saying anything or not.
I don't see anything necessarily in the chat.
Okay. I can just see numbers down here. Just as a, I know, with Mark, you were in the military course and everything, and Derek, of course, in the Marine Corps. Clint, you as a civilian, what do you see as the biggest pro for an AR pistol?
Compact, ability to go mobile with it. It's small, so if you're using it, if you decide to use it in your house, it's easy to get around corners, easy to maneuver. But for the most part, it's just being compact that I like. I can put it in the car. I can put it in. I mean, I can actually break the upper and lower in half and put it in my daily bag, if I wanted to do that. But I think just the compactness and the amount of, I mean, you're talking about flinging the 5.56 round at 3,000 foot a second. That's quite an impact when you hit something. So, that's what I think anyway. That's my whole reasoning behind it was I wanted something small, but something with some oomph, a little more oomph than my handgun. So I chose another handgun, technically.
Yeah, that is true. How about you, Mark? What was the big pro for you?
The biggest thing was I just wanted to be cool. I just wanted to look cool. I don't really care about compactability. No, I'm just kidding. I just have to second what Clint says. The compactability of a AR pistol, you can really get the lengths of those down. I mean, if you're really not concerned about the longevity of your barrel, you can go shorter than 10.5 inches. I mean, I know I get emails daily from Palmetto State Armory where they're trying to sell 7-inch barrels for a 5.56, and that's a thing, I guess. If you wanted, I wouldn't do that, but that's just some people have preferences. And the cool thing about my pistols is that if I wanted to on my truck, I've got RAM boxes on my bed, so I can open those up and put my rifle or AR pistol into that, or a rifle if I really wanted to. But if I really wanted to keep it compact, I could put it in there. It locks up. I don't do that, but if I wanted to, it was kind of a bug out type of thing, then yeah. I like the lighter weight of an AR pistol. Your 20-inch barrel, your M16 or AR-15, M16 A2 or A4 clone of in the AR variant, those get fairly weighty. They're not as maneuverable. You can't pie corners as easily. So those are some of the aspects of it. But there is also, a new market for pistol caliber carbines, right? So your 9mm, your 45 caliber, that's now starting to get a lot of traction with a lot of people, and there's a lot of pros with those as well. So
And specifically, CMMG has done a lot of work on that with the Guard, is it? I think it is.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, they've done it in 9 and 45, and have gotten some really good reviews because it's running a rotating bolt face rather than the I think there's an older action that was just not as reliable, and so they've done good work on that. Now that I want to transition and move to another section of it. Those are the pros. This is right off the top. What's the con? And it's probably going to be across the board. The con or cons of having an AR pistol. Either one of you want to attack that? It's probably going to be the same thing, but
So the biggest thing that I see is if you're wanting something that is going to be, extremely accurate and precise at ranges 200 to 300 yards, then you're just not going to get the performance out of an AR pistol. That's the number one thing. Number two is if the ATF decides to change their mind on their rulings of the SB tactical brace, then overnight you could have a weapon that is not as sought after as they are right now. So those are the two major cons that I see.
Okay, good. Clint?
Well, straight up loud. I mean,
Yeah.
they're noisy. If you're suppressing them, like Mark's getting ready to, then you're good. I mean, that's a perfect little combination. But they are loud. And then he's right about, what if the ATF decides to change their mind yet again? Then maybe you have something that you actually can't use or that you have to do something else with. Really, I mean, other than it just being super loud. Now, they are finicky. Some of them are finicky a little bit. Some of them, we've had like one or two come into my shop where they've smashed the buffers up in them pretty good, and it's all about the gas system and the right buffer. If you get them tuned in correctly, they really, there's no reason that your AR pistol should not run as soft as your 16-inch gun to a point. Mine, for example, is a carbine length. It's not adjustable, but I've got a Geisley G3 buffer in it, and it shoots really, really soft. I mean, real soft. So, I think a lot of people may buy one and it may be either finicky or just super noisy, and then they shy away from it. So, and then, I mean, as far as shooting at distance, yeah, Mark's right. If you're going to shoot a long ways away, get a gun that's made to shoot a long ways away. To be honest with you, my gun's made for 75 yards and in. I mean, that's what it was. That's what I bought it for. It was 75 yards and in. And I've, shot a few coyotes with it, but yeah, I didn't build it to go out and pling steel at 200 yards. I don't care about steel at 200 yards. So,
Yeah.
Kind of my take on it.
One of the questions that I would ask, if I were, and I hope somebody's wondering this question, 223 or 5.56 chambering or 300 blackout. I mean, 300 blackout. I got to shoot. Well, I'll say that I got to shoot a 300 blackout in an AR pistol. We won't say where it came from, but I had never shot one before at that point in time, and was very pleasantly surprised. And I'm wondering, if that's not the sweet spot, man. I know 5.56 or 223 chambering. We can find ammo everywhere, type of thing. But is 300 maybe the sweet spot for an AR pistol?
Well, I think so? You have to look at kind of the origins and not only that, but the purpose behind. Like, I think a lot of our discussion so far has been like purpose driven. I guess just to kind of catch up, just from a potential buyer's perspective, because I don't have an AR pistol yet. I plan to buy one, and I plan to buy a 12.5-inch 5.56. There's two reasons. One, because you can find 5.56 pretty easily. Right. Plus, I have friends that load it, and I know enough companies that load it that I can get good, 77 or 75 grain match ammo for it or whatever, or I can run gold dot or whatnot. But my purpose is to get my wife something that's easier to maneuver around with. Her 16-inch Palmetto gun is heavy. Like, it's probably 8.5 pounds. And if I can cut that down to 5.5 or 6 pounds, to me, that's winning, especially for her. So that's my purpose behind buying one. Now, looking at 5.56 versus 300 blackout, Mark had a good point talking about burning out barrels. The shorter you go on a 5.56 gun, and just the nature of the caliber, you have to open that gas port up bigger and bigger and bigger. Those 7-inch barrels, you probably could put a golf ball in the gas port. I mean, it's not that big, obviously, but you're talking about much larger proportions, and you're having a lot more gas being pushed back. So that's required for those shorter guns because they have less time. It's all about time in the barrel. So when you're looking at 300 Blackout, 300 Blackout produces a lot more gas. It was made for a shorter barrel system. 300 Blackout, I believe, was made for 7 to 9-inch barrels, and of course to be suppressed. So that's its designed intent. You can shoot a 16-inch 300 Blackout, and you're going to get good performance out of it, but it was made for those short barrels for that purpose. So I think depending on your intent, maybe that's probably a good way to answer that question for each individual user. I personally think 300 Blackout is better if you're going to go shorter than probably 11.5 inches. I think with their guns, as they sit right now, are probably as short as I would ever go on a 5.56. People are wrapped around the axle on the Mark 18, and Mark 18 is great, but if you understand the reasoning behind the Mark 18 and the logistics train that goes with the Mark 18, you'd understand why it's, you know, chambered in 5.56 at 10.3 inches.
Anybody else want to grab that one?
So I like the 300 Blackout. I had a lot of fun shooting it. I've got a pistol in 300 Blackout right now that I'm testing and hope to have a video out probably next week about it. But the biggest thing for me is the two hindering factors of why I don't go ahead and jump over that fence for a 300 Blackout is availability of ammunition and the cost of the ammunition. I like the low recoil of the 300 Blackout for a 30 caliber cartridge, but at the same time, you know, I'm not wanting to spend 60 cents to $1 a round when I'm, you know, looking into using it to train on a regular basis. That gets really expensive really quickly. So the 5.56 still provides a viable option. You know, ammunition's still cheap, it's readily available, and I think if you get the right type of ammunition for personal defense, it can be just as effective as any other round.
Gotcha. Hey, what twist rate do you guys have in both those barrels?
So mine's a 1 in 7 right now, but I do have this one right now that I'm working on. It's kind of a sneak peek of video dropping tomorrow, and this is a 1 in 9 twist.
Really?
So yep, and there's no rhyme or reason of why I chose that. It was just something that was available, and I figured I'd try it out and see what kind of the differences are between the two.
Have you, I mean, without spoiling your video, man, I don't want to do that, but have you seen, well, this might spoil your video, but will you talk about accuracy between the 1 in 7 and the 1 in 9 tomorrow?
I haven't gotten that far as of yet. Okay. The video I'll have tomorrow is just a preview. It'll break down everything that's involved into what it took to assemble that upper receiver. But that is something that I'm going to talk about. Yeah. Once I have everything completed, take it to the range. You know, we're going to fire some rounds, the exact same ammunition out of one AR platform and the other. The purpose of that particular upper is to show that, hey, look, here's the AR pistol that I have right now, and this is how much I've put into it. Now, naturally, you know, full disclosure, some of this stuff has been provided to me for free. But if you were to buy this exact AR pistol the way I have it configured right now, it would cost you this. This build is just as viable. Yeah, you may degrade your accuracy a little bit at 100 yards, but you can still, you know, get into a good looking AR for X number of dollars, and I'll break that down as well.
Gotcha. Clint, what do you have? What twist rate is on your barrel? Is it 7?
Mine's a black hole weaponry, so it's a 1 and 8. I'm not sure if they make a 1 and 7. I just happened to catch the 1 and 8 at a pretty good price, so I snagged it up. So yeah, it's just the standard. I think mine was actually measured at 11.3 or something like that. It was so, and there's a reason why, you know, like Mark has one that's about that same size. There's a reason for that. When you start getting into those short ones, you lose dwell time in 5.56, and it makes a gigantic difference in the way the gun runs. So I think they said just jumping from a 9-inch to a 10.5 literally increases dwell time by 40%. So I went 11.3, and it seems to be running just fine. But yeah.
What kind of groups at like 50 or 25 and 50 are you seeing between a 55 grain and a 62, or have you jumped it up even to a 77? Yeah,
well, what's in it is 77s. I shoot a heavier bullet out of it, but I personally haven't seen any differences. But I'll be honest with you, I took it out. I really haven't benched the gun. I've just self-supporting, zeroed the gun kind of myself. And I didn't see really a ton of difference other than, of course, the 77 grain that I'm shooting's got a little bit more thump to it, but it's a heavier bullet. So,
what brand is 77 grain?
Loaded. stuff that we loaded.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Whenever I'm plinking, I think I shoot. I think I just end up going to getting Winchester or something like that, or just something off the shelf. It doesn't, even if it's steel case, my gun will eat it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care. So, and that was the other thing too, is I wanted a gun that was hardy, that would run no matter what. So, all those cool little billet parts are cool, but usually with billet parts, you're making a gun that's a little bit tighter. I wanted mine kind of loose and clankety a little bit, and so.
So if a guy was just to ask you both that are owners, if a guy's looking at buying and building right now, number one, okay, here's two different twist rates, illustrated, 3 actually, with the 1 and 9, 1 and 7, and 1 and 8. Where would we send somebody? Number one, and then as far as, you know, bullet. You know, if you're talking about a 77 grain bullet, I know there's a lot of guys swear up and down by the OTMs from Black Hills. I want to give some people something to chew on, you know, when they walk away. What would both of you say right now, or even Derek, if you have anything to add there? Where would you send somebody right now if they said, what's the best option for me, you know, when they're watching here?
Mark, go ahead.
So the biggest and first question that I would ask is, anyone ever came to me to say, I want to get an AR or an AR pistol or whatever the case may be, and the very first question I'm going to ask is, what's your budget? How much are you willing to spend? You know, are you willing to? Do you have $1,000? Because if you have $1,000, man, I can get you a pretty tight AR. But if let's say that someone's got maybe 500 or less, you know, I may get a lot of crap for this, but I'd send them to Palmetto State Armory. I mean, they are not the best. I'm not going to say that they're the best, but I can tell you that they're going to provide you something that is going to get you in the ball game, and is going to be something that you can either buy or build for a fairly decent price. And, you know, some of these guys that are just getting into it, they're not going to be shooting 1,000 rounds a month, you know? So there's no reason for them to go out and buy a Noveske pistol or a Daniel Defense pistol or a CMMG. You know, get your feet wet, make your mistakes on what type of ammunition choices you couple up with the barrel length and the barrel twist rate and stuff like that. And that's exactly what I'm doing. To be frankly honest with you, Clint's talking about dwell time and twist rate and bullet weight and stuff like that, and I kind of understand enough. I know just enough to be dangerous, but I wouldn't be the best person to recommend a specific barrel length with twist rate with ammunition coupling. I just don't have that much knowledge. But for someone who's just looking to get into it, I'd say, take a look at piecing together something from Palmetto State Armory, save some money, build a decent rifle, and have fun with it. Go out and plank a little bit, learn, and go with it that way.
I'll give a shameless plug here for Free State Armament here in the state, that they do have billet and forged lowers that you can get a hold of and you can build from to do that. And they're built right here in Kansas over in Ozaki, so Free State Armament. But anyhow, and then you can get your PSA parts too.
Yeah, I think that's a good recommendation, Mark. I mean, I think a lot of people overlook that. I've got the upper that's on my wife's rifle, a PSA upper. It's from many, many years ago when FN was stamping out the barrels and punching them out. But I mean, yeah, like you said, they're not duty weapons. I mean, they just aren't, and they won't probably ever be. But that's maybe not the intent of somebody that just wants to buy an AR pistol. As far as barrels and ammunition, I think heavy bullets make a lot of short guns happy. Most short guns will eat heavier projectiles, just because I think it does increase, like Clint was talking about, increases dwell time, which provides more gas to the gas system, and then it operates a little bit better. The other thing I think that is important is barrel length. Barrel length is really important. These guys have 11.5-inch guns. 10.5, I think, is really the bare minimum, or 10.3 if you really want to go with a true Mark 18 size. It's just like, I mean, they're SBR. It's an SBR length upper. So 10.3 is really like, once you get past that, you're starting to lose the advantage of having a 5.56. At that point in time, you're starting to creep into territory where it's almost crossing into, let's just go to a pistol caliber carbine or a pistol caliber pistol, if you want to go that route, just because you've already got the ammunition availability. You're losing a lot of the rifle advantage after you get past that point. When you get about 9 or even the 7-inch barrel we were talking about earlier, you really are starting to cut away at the advantage of having those rifle calibers in that gun. And you're getting a lot of loudness, like Clint was talking about earlier, and you're getting a lot of recoil and not as much effect out of it. That's why I personally like 12.5. I think 12.5 is a good middle ground between a 14.5 or a 16 and all the way down to 10. Just happens to be right in the middle. But 12.5, 11.5, those are kind of sweet spots, and shooting something like maybe a 64 grain Gold Dot or a 77 grain Black Hills or something like that, I think is a good place to look for that. If you're out plinking at the range, go buy your cheap Winchester, get some trigger time in. 55 grain is not going to hurt it. You're just not going to get a lot of performance out of it. But honestly, if that's all you can afford for home defense is, your $500 Palmetto State Armory and some 55 grain Winchester white box, it will do plenty just fine. Rifle bullets are really good at doing one thing, and that's punching really nice holes. And a Palmetto State Armory and some 55 grain Winchester white box will do that job. It just may not do it as sexy or as, quote, effectively as some of the other stuff out there.
I will say, I plug Free State, and I do work with Free State. So, but my wife's AR is it's a PSA. So,
hey, guys, there's nothing wrong with a PSA. The PSAs are
no, not at all.
PSAs are great. To add on to what these two guys were saying, if somebody were to come to me and say, "Hey, I want to build an AR pistol," my very first thing that I'm going to ask them is purpose. What's the purpose? What are we doing with it?
For sure.
The same thing that I do whenever I build a custom handgun. Uh-oh.
The operator has arrived. Wait, is that or Clint is leaving us?
What's
I'll
up,
take it.
Clint? Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you, John. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Your video is like glitching out though, dude.
Look,
There you are.
can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you guys.
The official operator has arrived. John from
Me?
Crusader Arms.
The professional has gotten.
The professional
finally gotten
here,
here.
so okay. We can
Sorry,
step
I was
back.
playing a soccer game with my son.
We can step back and
Right.
listen to the wisdom now of Dr. Crusader Arms.
Yeah, yes.
So Clint, you were saying it right before you left. I guess he's still gone. I don't know. He's glitching out. Are you there, brother? Anyhow, John, show us your AR pistol while Clint's trying to figure out the techno, man.
Okay, 1 second.
Okay, he does not have it in the room with him. I tell you what.
Wow.
Great. You know, the one thing I'm going to move to next is because of I always hear about that, man, they're so loud, and they are. I've shot, both 5.56.
Every AR-15 is loud inside.
Yeah. I mean, but
Okay.
what I wanted to move to was some different options for, flash hider, brake, that type of thing. I know the linear comps from KVP or Call Valley Precision, who is right here in the state. They're in Silver Lake, Kansas. And you can get them through Joe Bob Outfitters, which is out of they're out of Hayes. So we are blessed here in Kansas, man, super blessed. They have some linear comps. They do a lot of stuff with pistol caliber carbines, and I think they only have two comps for 30 cal and maybe only one for 223 out of KVP. But look them up. Call Valley Precision. If you're doing a pistol build, whether it's an AR9, I think they have barrels, everything for AR9, AR, and then in 40, 10 millimeter. Well, you just go look them up. Call Valley Precision. They're out of Silver Lake, Kansas, which is just right outside Topeka. So, John, did you bring in your toy there, brother?
Yeah, we've got it here.
Tell us about this thing from top to bottom. The other two.
Okay. Yeah, this is a 10.3 inch. I heard you guys talking a little earlier about the barrel length, and I agree absolutely. If you had a choice between a 10.3 and an 11.5, go with the 11.5 for sure. Your dwell time increases. You usually just get a little bit more of it's a little softer shooting. It's also a little more reliable. The gun doesn't beat itself to death quite as bad. But I went with this 10.3 because there was a sale going on for one of the Ballistic Advantage barrels that has the Hansen profile, which is just kind of a nice barrel in general, and it was about 80 or 90 bucks off at the time. So went with that. We've got an Aero Precision kind of skeletonized lower receiver. Upper receiver is Anderson. We've got the KAK flash, KAK brace on the back. Magpul backup iron sights, Trigicon MRO. We're running the Yankee Hill Phantom flash hider. I don't know if you can see that. And then this is a Strike Industries. They're kind of angled foregrip sort of deal. Very, very nice, very well constructed, and very affordable, which is one of the things I love about Strike Industries. They make really nice stuff, and it does not break the bank. So for that nice foregrip, anodized aluminum, it's something like 22 bucks, or if I'm not mistaken. So very, very, very nice pricing. I've got a Stinger USA rail on this. Another great company. They make really good rails for a very affordable price. And then I've went with the Streamlight Protac Hl X, which is the 1000 lumen. And it's got the pressure switch mounted up on top of the rail right here. So you can activate that light from the top, which is very nice and intuitive. If you're grabbing the rifle up over the top, your thumb will just actuate that pad. The trigger is a CMC 3.5 pound trigger. Definitely not necessary, but when I built this, my overall take on a rifle is the idea of a rifle for a civilian, in all reality, maybe I'll catch flack for saying this, is a toy. The chances of us ever using one of these as a civilian is very, very, very slim. And even if we do use one, we don't need one that's all pimped out. A straight PSA rifle with irons will get the job done, you know what I mean, in the vast majority of circumstances. So when I built this, I just wanted to build something fun that I was going to enjoy, and I've always wanted to have kind of a nice trigger in one of my guns. So I cut corners in some areas so that I could splurge on the trigger. It just lets me shoot faster, which just means the gun's more expensive to play with. But yeah, just wanted it to be a fun gun. I had a 16-inch rifle, which I loved as well, but Lyle knows me, Clint knows me. After a while, I've played with something for a little while. I want to try something new, and I don't get overly attached to them. So it was just, I had enjoyed my 16-inch rifle and decided I wanted to build a fun little 10-inch gun, something I could use for home defense if I wanted. And for all intents and purposes, this is going to get you out to 100, 200 yards, easy enough and accurately enough. You're not going to lose that much accuracy from a 16-inch gun to a 10.3-inch or an 11.5-inch gun at those yardages, at least.
I think that's something else that we probably should hit on too, because I know there's a lot of internet mythology out there that we get the opportunity to kill every once a month or twice a month. Accuracy, I think people forget, is not directly correlated to your barrel length. I mean, it can be because of twist rates, but that's like way nerd science. Like, this is not a gun nerds episode by any means, but you know, you're like John's talking about, you're going to lose muzzle velocity, and that's really what's going to, for lack of a better term, it's going to kill you. You know, getting out of 300-400 yards, the bullet drop at that point in time is going to be significant. People think 30-06 looks like a howitzer at distance. Shoot a 10-inch gun and see how fast that bullet drops. So I think that's like, you can print good groups, but you're going to be starting to drop off pretty fast, and then your cone of fire is going to start to open up as you get further out. Yeah, I think Mark even talked about that earlier too.
Yep. And then that's where you get into your lethality. You know, ideally that 5.56 is going to want to go faster to do what it's meant to do. But there are rounds that are being made to compensate for that lack of velocity. You know, I think something like, and I'm not trying to just push them, but I think something like a solid copper spun round like Fort Scott offers is a legitimate option, because it is not dependent on speed to fragment. It's just meant to tumble. So I think that's a potentially a good option for these short guns.
I could see them taking something like their solid coppers, because solids, the biggest benefit to solids is the jacket, you won't have jacket separation. So in a traditional bullet, you'll have a lead core and you'll have a copper jacket. For those that are watching that don't know this already, so you'll have the lead core and the copper jacket, or some sort of bimetal or whatever it may be. And so what happens is when you fire that and it goes, and you start speeding up or you spin it faster, what you'll get is destabilization, because the jacket will sort of separate from the core. Well, that's great and dandy, but when you start looking like a shotgun at 100 yards because your rifle's ripping bullets apart, that's not exactly a good thing. But the way you can compensate, like John was talking about, for a lot of that, he's talking about solid coppers, and I think the other thing with that is you can go to a shorter barrel. Let's say you have a 10.5-inch gun, And instead of having a 1 in 7 twist rate, which I think is what Mark's rifle that he has is, maybe you speed that up to a 1 in a 6.5 or a 1 in 6, and you'll help. It's called hyperstabilizing in a lot of places, but you can spin that bullet faster, and that will help you make up for that lack of velocity. And that's going to help with accuracy at longer ranges. It'll not really do a whole lot for the drop, unfortunately, but that can help some of that. Now, the solid coppers, like you guys are talking about, will tumble, so there's that too. I think there's a lot of different ways to attack the problem, but it all comes back to what Mark was talking about earlier, which I think it was Mark that was talking about. Anyways, but it came back to defining what you're trying to get out of that system before you just start throwing money at it. And your budget. Your budget's really important too. You can't buy some fancy twist rate barrel if you don't have the money to do so. So,
yep. Yeah, I'd say as long as you're being honest with the way you're approaching, and I don't mean for our sakes, but like in what your goal is when you're building that gun or buying that gun, you know, I would say don't buy a 10-inch gun and then think that you're going to be out there dropping bad guys at 600 yards. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's just kind of the nature of the deal. So like I said, when I built this 10-inch gun, I am not expecting this gun to be reaching out and touching anything at great distances. But my understanding, and I guess my thought is, the chance of me ever taking a shot at something that far away with this particular gun is so minuscule that I might as well make it short, fun, enjoy it. And if it's perfectly lethal within home defense ranges.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, so it is what it is. It's not meant to be competing with a 16 and 18 or a 20-inch barreled rifle. So
yeah, I mean, we're all looking for that gun that will do it all. Like everybody's looking for the do-it-all rifle. Oh, I want a short gun that I can maneuver around my house and still knock something down at 1,000 yards. Well, that's great, but that's not how physics works. Not yet, at least. So, I mean, we have different purposes for different things. And I think that's something that, you know, the pistol AR fits in its own little category, in its own little world. You guys have all your defined reasons for owning one. Maybe sometimes it's maybe just to shoot ammo, just some toy to play with. Some of it's home defense. But nobody has the illusion that it's an SPR. Like you're not going to go put a night for scope, at least not a 5-25 on it to shoot at 800 yards. You know, I carry a handgun every day because I can't carry a rifle.
I'll do it.
I know you'll do it. I've seen stuff that you do. I mean, you got a red dot on a pistol. I mean, why not, right? You can shoot that at 100. But no, but you know, we carry pistols every day because we can carry a pistol. If we could carry a rifle in our pocket, we would carry a rifle. I mean, it's just there's a place for these things, and I think we just have to find. And as the people that have knowledge with you guys that have owned these things, I think the most valuable thing for you is you can pass that on to people that don't maybe understand what they're going to buy it for. Everybody sees, God, name a TV show, SWAT, whatever that Navy SEAL TV show is, or any Navy SEAL book or movie, or SEALs love to talk about themselves. But besides that point, that's where we see a lot of these sexy, cool, short barrel guns. And I think a lot of people get wrapped up in the Hollywood aspect of it, and they don't realize the real world implications of it. So do research, research it, go to your local gun range, talk to people like, you know, Mark, and, you know, just find out, all of these guys, every one of these guys that's on here except for me, and I believe Lyle has some sort of pistol AR setup. I'll talk to them and find out what mistakes maybe they ran into or what they found out when they were doing their research, because that's invaluable. Don't waste your money. If you only have $500, well, maybe Mark can say, well, yeah, I could have spent an extra $100 here and been a lot better off. Maybe it's worth saving an extra $100 for some of those things. And I think that all comes back to defining your purpose. So I think that's really good. A lot of good info there.
And the other thing too is if you watch everybody's favorite like operator, you know, Garand Thumb, right? You watch any of his videos where he's running around with his Mark 18 clone or any of the other AR you know, short-barreled rifles that he has, or his AR pistols, or whatever the case may be, you watch any of his videos, he's not shooting anywhere over 100 yards at any given time. And more, in fact, I'm sure that if you talk to him face to face, he probably was at 25 yards or less.
It's all CQB, yeah.
Yeah, it's all CQB. Even his Marine drill that he runs, where you know, it starts at 3 yards and then it goes to 12 yards and then it's 25 yards. You know, and that's all ran with an AR platform. So price, your budget, figure out your application, and then go from there. And I would say that my AR pistol is based on zero knowledge at all. I just like threw it all together, and my best friend Drew, he and I bounce things back and forth, and he's like, maybe this would be better for you, but he and I are both kind of like, we'll just put it together and see what happens, you know. So
I'm out of here, guys. I gotta go. I got a hard stop, but thank you for the awesome conversation, and I will talk to you later. And Mark, especially you, I'll talk to you.
Yes, we need to get together.
Yeah. All right, see you later.
Man.
Take care, Derek. You know, he brings up Mark with Johnny. What's he finding out on the AR pistol kind of experiments that he's been doing?
You know, to be frankly honest with you, I actually have talked to Johnny very little lately. We've just been extremely busy on both fronts, but you know, he's brand new to it, and he's just same thing. He's just kind of going with what's basically handed to him, and he shoots it, and he doesn't get into the specifics. Does it go bang? Does the bullet come out of the barrel, and does it hit the target? If it checks all three of those blocks, he's good to go, you know. And for a lot of people, I would probably imagine, and I'm just shooting at the hip here, 70% of the people who are even interested or own an AR pistol, that's all they care about. Does it go bang? Does the bullet come out of the barrel, and does it hit the target, you know, at 25 yards, which is what most ranges are at, you know. So yeah, that's kind of my take on it.
For the home defense minded folks, and I know I'll say this first up. Buck Petticord, who worked in SWAT for years and years and years, just retired. He owns Defense Midwest. John, you know him very well.
Yep.
Buck, I sat down with Buck and asked him, and I even asked him to come on tonight, and he wasn't able to. But you know, I just point blank, we were 2 hour some odd conversation, you know, and it came up, AR pistols did. And I asked him about that within, you know, their environment, team's environment and stuff. And he said, man, I wouldn't go with anything less than 14 inches long. And I was shocked, you know. And he said, in a team environment, they're so stinking loud, dude, and you're dropping brass on your friend and everything else. It's not even worth it. In a home defense environment, I don't know what I'd really be eager what he'd have to say there. When you're by yourself, my question hops onto this with both y'all. I know Clint's having some techno difficulties here, but when it comes to home defensive environment, I know both of you have kids. All of y'all have kids that have these pistols, and so the concern about, and I know any rifle is going to be loud and all that business, but the question being, do you guys do anything? Some people have ear protection, literally sitting beside the bed with their rifle or with their AR pistol. Do you guys do anything like that, or do you just say the heck with it? I mean, if the bad dude comes in the middle of the night, I'm going to smoke him, and you know, if I have to, and my kids, you know, I'm here to protect them on their ears. I hope to God that their ears are okay.
So, you know, my wife and I, we have a drill that, you know, one of us is taking care of the bad guy, and one of us is taking care of the kid. So I have my my arms are within arm's length, and if the flag goes up, I'm grabbing that, and the wife is immediately running to the daughter's room to snatch her up. From there, we know exactly what each other's is going to do, and we know exactly where each other is going to be. So we've trained that way. We know exactly what we're going to do, and whatever the first thing I grab, depending on the situation, is the first thing I grab. And to be frankly honest with you, I'm not worried about my ears. The eardrum is fairly resilient. So if you have to fire around in a very close, environment, then, just be ready for it. I'd rather worry about, being rattled a little bit from a 5.56 round or a pistol round going off than trying to plug a hole in my chest, so.
Yeah. So life over limb.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we have time, I mean, if someone's like bashing in our back door and they can't really get in, and you're able to wake up, adjust to your surroundings, grab your hearing protection and your weapon, by all means. But in most cases, you're usually startled out of sleep and you're running right out of the gate. So go ahead.
You were a tanker, weren't you?
Yeah. So my
you
first
have to really work a lot with the M4.
No, we did a number of foot patrols. Obviously, I did more patrols, more combat patrols on the tank than I did foot patrols, but we did do a number of foot patrols. And there was one incident where I did have to fire a couple of rounds from an M4 with no hearing protection. And yes, I was outside, but I was right up against a building, and my ears rang a little bit, but in a couple hours I was fine, so it's all situational dependent. You can never guess what's going to happen. So the biggest thing is, just have a plan and follow that plan.
Absolutely. And that was the one thing that I know Corinne Mosher, when she was speaking the other night with the ladies, she talked about their plan and how they activated it. They, about a month and a half ago, her and Mike actually had to activate their plan. I mean, they were out at their daughter's baseball practice, and two car full of thugs, started shooting at each other about 100 yards behind them or less. And they had to go into action, and it worked. But what about you, John? I mean, do you have anything that you guys do, you and your wife, for the kids? You have 3 kids in the house.
Yeah, I mean, I guess our kind of setup is same kind of as Mark. Is if something goes down, my wife would go into the kids' room, and I would basically just post up. Hopefully I'd have enough time to scramble out of bed and post up on the landing, and basically own the stairwell, which it's an old farmhouse, so it's a nice, narrow, steep stairwell. And I would own that space with a rifle or my handgun. And the wife would be basically 2 walls behind lath and plaster, offline, so that if anything's coming up that stairwell, she's in no danger. She and the kids would be in no danger of taking any hits. But yeah, as far as ear pro goes, it would be loud, but like I said, there's enough walls and barrier that it might be uncomfortable for them, but I don't ever worry too much about the sound. And when you compare something like a 16-inch gun to a 10.5-inch gun, decibel wise, you're looking at it's like 163 decibels on a short gun, and like 168, and then on a 16-inch gun, it's like 163 or 160. Yeah, wow. So it's not a huge difference in sound. The biggest thing is, what kind of device do you have on the end of your gun?
Yeah,
comps make a huge difference in overpressure, coming off the sides there. So as much as I like a comp, I specifically went with a flash hider on this. because
that?
I don't need to shoot as fast as a comp lets me shoot. You know what I'm saying? I don't need that fast of a split time, and the recoil's not bad enough. I would rather have something that's going to keep the flash down. It might mitigate some of that concussive force coming off the side of the rifle a little bit, but like Mark said, at the end of the day, you're not overly concerned about your ears in the heat of the moment, and you do get that auditory exclusion when the stress spikes through the roof suddenly. So, yeah. The other thing you mentioned, Buck, and this was one thing I wanted to point out because I remember he spoke to this.
Sketching out on you, man.
Is it? Sorry. But Buck spoke to this specifically, and he showed us this. If you take a 16-inch AR and you shoulder it, and Clint Smith, I think, has shown this as well.
Yeah.
You shoulder a 16-inch rifle, and then you bring a handgun out with both hands. You were basically at the exact same length of pull when you have a handgun extended as you do with a 16-inch rifle. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen the other when it comes to the maneuverability of a gun. So
that's interesting. What now? Both of y'all are running Yankee Hill on the end, but different hiders or different no.
What are you running, Mark?
I've got the Phantom 2. I think
Phantom.
You've got the Phantom, right?
Is that right?
So mine is has the thread on it for the Yankee Hill suppressors. That's the main on mine. So yeah, so if you can see here, it's got the thread coming around, and then it's straight up break. So
right. Yeah.
Have you guys ran them at night enough to see the fireball?
I have not yet.
Yeah, same here. Finding a place that I can shoot at night is somewhat challenging. And I like to be respectful, of people's evenings. So it's real difficult to find a place to shoot at night.
Mark, you know a guy.
Yeah, well, again, I still want to be respectful to them.
Well, no, I mean, I was talking about myself.
Okay, yeah. I know a couple guys. Let's put it that way. But again, I've never had I've never really had the inclination to do that. I would have to say that when it comes to training, that's probably my most deficient area is low light or no light shooting.
Yep.
That is one thing that guys this year. I said, well, not this year. It'll probably be next year. In 2019, I know we've got classes coming up with John Korea coming in October, and I hope all of us are going to be able to be there. I know Clint and John are. Are you going to be able to be there, Mark?
So I hope to be there for the Friday class.
Okay.
That unfortunately, that's my daughter's weekend, and I
knew that. Yeah.
I hadn't broached the subject with my wife yet because we usually end up having 2 or 3 birthday parties for her, so with all the different families that we end up having to spend time with. So, but it'd be a good time.
Yeah. I hope we go. So we got that coming up. I'm going to be gone the week that Steve Fisher, Yeti's going to be out at Spear Point in September, and going to be doing some work out there with critical handgun deployment. So if you want to get some good training, by the way, some plugs here, some good training from John Korea of Active Self-Protection. That's at Tallgrass Shooting Sports in Manhattan, right outside Manhattan in October. But in September, Steve Fisher from Sentinel Concepts is going to be out at Spear Point Ranch for 2 days of critical handgun deployment, and going to be really good stuff. And I was texting with Steve earlier, and there is real positivity that he may be coming back to the state in 2019. And I would love to have Fisher do some low light stuff. And that, for me personally, is probably the next thing that I really want to work on in 2019 is low light stuff. And with a rifle, with a carbine, or if I do have the aspirations of building an AR pistol here in the next year, yeah, doing something like that would be awesome. Man, that'd be, and especially with Yeti, that'd be really cool. Or even, I mean, for that matter, to be able to do it with Buck. I mean, Buck's been doing this stuff for 30 years. You know, it's not like he, fell off the truck yesterday. So
Buck, I'll tell that Buck is a wizard with a flashlight and a handgun.
really,
Yeah.
yeah.
We did that low light. We did some low light stuff with him, and like some force on force.
Mm-hmm.
And he put us in a low light scenario, basically low light / no light. And all he had was like a 100 lumen flashlight in his hand and his pistol, airsoft pistol. And there were 5 of us, and he just told us, "Shoot me, I'm going to come hunt you." And he came in and he took all 5 of us out. And it literally felt like going up against Batman. I say that somewhat comically, but you want to talk about nerve-wracking? When someone knows what they're doing with a flashlight in an almost no light environment, it is like going up against Batman. You just start freaking out, and you just hear your buddies getting tagged and dying, and then the light comes on and off, and you start shooting, and then suddenly, he's got you dead to rights. It was pretty cool. It was like a ninja.
So to give a plug to Buck, I know, and Mark's gonna have to go here pretty quick. He's got work to do, but
Same here.
Just to give a plug to Buck. Defense Midwest. Go to defensemidwest.com. He's located right outside Wamego. He's got plenty of classes coming up, and if you get a chance to train with Buck Petticord, man, I mean he is a good man with a gun.
Absolutely.
And, I want him in my foxhole. That's for darn sure. Mark, before you go, brother, tell us about Fit and Fire and where people can get a hold of you and let them know about your channel, man. Give a plug.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. So Fit and Fire is, YouTube Fit and Fire, or you can go to fitandfire.com. I've got a webpage up and running to show all the different things that I'm running. I've got a gear list that I do for EDC stuff or things that I'm getting ready to buy. I've got a build list, so a number of the rifles that I've built to include this AR pistol here. I've got that part list on there, which is a good way to support the channel because a lot of those go to affiliate links. So it doesn't cost anybody any extra money, and I get a small commission off of it, but that's a good way to do it. Some of the things that I've got coming up, I've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. I've got...
you got a Ruger Precision, don't you, brother?
I do, and I need to get back on the horse on shooting that. I've been pretty neglected on. I've been neglecting it. I need to start stretching it out to the 300 and 400 yard ranges, which I know is way too easy for it. But it's got that Athlon optic on it that I need to get a review for. So, and some hardware from B&T. So the Atlas bipod needs to get some airtime as well. I've got some historical pistols that I'm getting ready to do some review on. I've got a new Glock that I'm going to do. I've got another new AR pistol that I'm building. I've got another new AR pistol that I have completed that is going to be reviewed as well, which is going to be a pistol caliber carbine, and that's something new for me as well. So a lot of new stuff that I'm getting into, some old stuff I need to brush up on, and
we need to get together.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yep. So yeah, I mean, it'd be great to get Derek. I mean, just get everybody together.
Yeah.
We'll just get everybody together and
out on the farm out here, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Just have a whole day of it.
I did want to point out something for your channel. You do on Monday nights. You do Keep Calm and Carry.
Yep, Keep Calm and Carry is my live chat. I tried to bring other individuals from the YouTube or Instagram world who's very pro Second Amendment on board, just to talk to them, find out a little bit more about them, just kind of give them a platform for them to talk about things that are important to them. Saturday, I will be on Tundra Tactical's live chat, which will be at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on their channel, Tundra Tactical. So I have no idea where that's going to go. It's probably going to go off the rail real quick, but that'll be fun. So yeah, live chats are a great chance to, have a conversation. I'd like to expand that chat a little bit to kind of get outside the bubble of, people who support the Second Amendment. Maybe talk to somebody who's new to. We got the train rolling through. Yeah, no problem. The funny thing is that train's probably going to be rolling through here about 20 minutes. I'd like to get somebody who's maybe new to gun ownership, or maybe someone who just doesn't necessarily agree, and just kind of have a very constructive conversation on their position, and maybe like a change my mind segment or something like that. Or maybe just get someone who's Second Amendment savvy, who's very supportive of it, and just play devil's advocate for an hour, and just kind of really hammer at them about, well, look at Maryland. They just had a shooting and it was a shotgun. I mean, we just need to get rid of all of these guns, so something like that.
I will say this, by the way, before I do, on IG, Fit and Fire, on IG, Instagram, that is, and on Facebook. So look Mark up and give him some love, man.
Yeah, appreciate that.
I'll give you, as you're going, a little encouragement, brother. I watched your video on the dagger defense, isn't it? Is that what it is? Or a light? It was the weapon lights
for the rifle. Yeah,
rifle weapon light from dagger defense.
Yeah,
I went back and I watched that yesterday. In fact.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
For myself, as I was doing a little research, and so you helped me out. I just want to give you an encouragement there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Dagger Defense, they do really good stuff. I mean, it's not high end at all. Don't expect this to be something you go to war with, but their I believe it's the DDSD-05 is their rifle mounted light, and it does really well. I think it's 600 lumens. It's plenty bright for whatever you're going to need for your home, and I think, man, I haven't looked at it in a while, but I think it's only like $30. Yeah. So, and if you're just kind of skeptical about that, Olight does great lights as well. So I've got 2 new Olights that are going to be coming up here pretty soon. I'm going to talk about one that is really budget savvy, and the other one that is just, I think, is an awesome EDC light. So more to come on those.
All right, we'll be looking forward to Fit and Fire, man.
All right.
So. In the meantime, we'll have to get together out on the farm.
Very soon. Very soon. Yes, indeed.
All right, brother. Take care and have a good night.
All right.
Have a good one, Mark.
Yeah. Take care. Good to see you too, man.
Hey, John, were you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Your video's like gone for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't know. It keeps cutting out. I don't know why.
There it is. There you are. Give a plug, by the way, before everybody leaves us. Give a plug for your channel.
Okay. Yeah, you guys can.
What you got coming up? I mean, you got lots of stuff coming up.
Yeah. You can find me. Crusader Arms channel on YouTube is my most active, I guess. That and Instagram. You can find me at Facebook, Crusader Arms channel. You can find me at crusaderarmschannel.com. My blog. Sometimes I'll write on there. I've got a little affiliate store. Some of the stuff there helps support the channel. Can you hear me all right here? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, as far as what's coming up, I've got a couple upgrades for my Glocks. I've got to do some videos on that. I've got to still do some more ballistic testing and some ballistics gel. We want to be doing some testing specifically, like I was talking about, with the 5.56 and these short rifles, and see what kind of performance we get in ballistics gel versus their solid copper versus something like a jacketed hollow point or something like that, a bonded round. I've got some a follow-up test on magazine longevity as far as springs are concerned when we're looking at aftermarket magazines. So yeah, we got some things in the works, and it's just been real busy right now. So I kind of try to do what I can when I can. So
You just did a review on the Mobius 2.0.
yes, yeah, from VanQuest.
I know this is Kansas gun community, but check John's review out of the Mobius 2. I carry a on my EDC bag. In fact, it's laying right beside me right now. I have for 3 years. It's a Mobius 1 from VanQuest, and it has a CCL or whatever concealed carry compartment in it and everything. I carry a spare mag in there all the time in the gun part of the time too.
Yeah.
Secondary gun, but yeah, I mean, look at that review. You did a good job.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's a cool little bag. I'm enjoying it. It's very versatile. Got lots of room for stuff. You can make it an EDC bag. You could make it a full-blown medical kit.
Yeah.
You know, whatever you want to do with that bag, the sky's the limit. So
that's good. And the magazines that you're referring to, and I am really curious about. I am. Is it between the Amen2 and
PMags?
Yeah, I was thinking of the Glock OEM for some reason.
No. So I didn't test the Glock OEM mags just because I wasn't brave enough to run over my OEM mags because I'm cheap and I didn't want to potentially bust one. Yeah, so if you guys followed that one test, I tested the PMag versus the Amen2 mag. And, you know, in my estimation, I think both mags did admirably. Neither magazine does well with steel-cased ammo. And that's simply the fact that the steel-cased ammo is not lubricated well enough, the casing itself. So when you get a double stack scenario in those polymer mags, they just want to bind up in the magazine and you end up with feeding issues. If you want to do malfunction practices, that's a really good way to do it. Go take Wolf steel case, shove it in a polymer magazine, and watch you just start crying as your gun malfunctions.
How's that work to bring this back around to the AR pistol? What are you running? Are you running all PMags?
No.
Or Lancers or what?
I run a mix of the Lancers. I've got PMags, and then I've got some of the aluminum GI mags, but with the anti-tilt followers.
And that's a question. Have you ran a lot of Wolf through the?
I do. I primarily run steel case ammo through my rifles.
And no problem. No problem.
Never had an issue. Nope.
Wow.
Never had an issue. Now, what I do, and I took this from another YouTuber who does some serious testing. He's a smaller channel. I think he's now upwards of 50,000 subs now, but he's been around for a long time. So, but when he would test guns, he wouldn't do a review until he had at least 10,000 rounds through the thing. And he's just a regular guy, young guy who was still in the Army. But one of the things he would do is, in order to afford that testing protocol, he had to shoot steel case ammo because otherwise it was too expensive. So what he would do is he would take a drop of synthetic motor oil and he would put like 2 drops of synthetic motor oil in the star chamber of the AR. Turn the rifle barrel down, butt up in the air, and let that soak. And that's how he would store that rifle. And he would never get stuck cases with his steel case. So, yeah, so that's one little method that I've always done. The other common misconception, most of that steel cased ammo nowadays, it's not that the lacquer on it melts off, because that lacquer, you have to get it ridiculously hot for it to melt. The issue, in fact, is most of these steel cased ammos are no longer lacquer coated, at least for ARs. They're polymer coated. What happens, and the reason that it will get stuck, is because steel does not expand like brass does. Right. It's not that the coating is melting in the chamber. It's that because it's not expanding, it's allowing blow-by around the casing, which then starts to create more and more fouling as you continue to shove round after round in there, and it just gets dirtier and dirtier. So having a bore brush with you is a good idea with some scrubber. after you shoot a couple hundred rounds. Don't ever leave a round chambered when the gun's hot. You know, if you're in a class, you're doing a big long string of fire, you're doing drills, and you're going to go stuff mags, drop your magazine and kick the round out of the chamber so it's empty. That way, that round is not sitting in that gunk to solidify while it's hot and then cooling on it. So
now, Cowan did a, you put me onto that video. Aaron Cowan of Sage Dynamics did a video on the 75 grain for the SBR.
Yeah.
That they just come out with. What just your personal take on nickel plated, ammo as opposed to brass?
Yeah, I think the nickel is, like they say, it's the ideal thing. It aids in extraction to get you a little more positive extraction with a round. But the vast majority of people shoot brass all the time and they don't have stuck cases. So is it really necessary? I don't think so. I don't know if I'd say it's total marketing hype, but I think there's a little bit of that. And especially, I mean, if we're going to go into something like a handgun, if you maintain your CCW weapon, you keep it relatively clean, the chance that you get into in an altercation where you have to use your gun and you maybe dump 7 rounds, if you get a stuck casing in 6 or 7 rounds, something's wrong. Yeah. That shouldn't happen. Because I've shot thousands of rounds and I've never had a stuck case in a pistol shooting brass and steel case. So if it happens, I'd say it's an anomaly. It's the exception that proves the rule that brass is pretty much probably good to go.
Is there any kind of worry with the AR pistol of the extractor being overused? I mean, any between, let's say, a regular carbine length and the AR pistol? I mean, do you think that right now, in your perspective, I know you keep an extra O-ring and a little extractor spring around, but do you think that there's any difference at all?
I wouldn't worry about it. I mean, you're getting up into really high round count volumes when you start seeing that anyway. And I would say just consider that regular maintenance of the gun. From what most people say, and all this stuff that I'm saying, we always joke I'm not a professional. In truth, I am not a professional. I'm just I don't know. I'm a gun enthusiast, and I try to listen to those that are well respected and, have a good knowledge base. So what I'm saying is generally just a rewording or regurgitation of what somebody else has said. There's nothing new under the sun sort of deal. The most important part about your rifle is, they say the heart of the rifle, that's your bolt carrier group and your barrel. So if you're going to skimp on the other parts, but get a good bolt carrier group and get a good barrel. That's where your money needs to go. If you have a chance to buy a PSA for $100 and you have a chance to buy a BCM for 160, if you can save up 60 more bucks, get the BCM. It doesn't mean that the PSA bolt is just going to fail on you and fall apart. It's that PSA's quality control is not as tight as BCM. So you may get a PSA bolt and it's just as good as the BCM. But there's also that chance that you get one that kind of gets overlooked in the shuffle because of the mass production that they're doing. So BCM bolts, though, are kind of considered bomb-proof. So if you're going to skimp, maybe skimp on the whiz-bang trigger or the really cool buttstock you were looking at. Maybe skimp on that and take that extra savings and put it to your bolt carrier group. And likewise with your barrel. Get a good barrel, one that the gas port is correct on. Those are the kinds of things you want to look for. As far as your rail is concerned, your trigger is concerned, your grip, even your iron sights, those aren't the real crucial things.
What BCG
your bolt,
did you go with?
What's that? Sorry?
What BCG did you go with?
I bought, and I kind of stumbled upon this, I bought an AO, not Arrow, an AO Precision bolt carrier group. If you look up AO Precision, And this is like not dirty secret, but the dirty little secret in the industry. AO Precision makes bolt carrier groups for the majority of your high-end manufacturers. So I'm probably getting some of these names wrong, but like LaRue, I think was one of the ones, AO Precision. If you buy a LaRue rifle, it's got an AO Precision bolt in it. BCM might be. I would have to double check on that. Noveski, I believe, was AO Precision. I would have to check, but
same shop then.
Yeah, so a lot of these big manufacturers like BCM's barrels are not BCM, they're FN barrels. So you'll notice this trend. It's the same with lower receivers. There's like 3 or 4 main manufacturers that make lower receivers, and they just carve each person's logo into it and ship it out to them. So the same people that make Spikes lowers are the same ones that make BCM lowers. And Daniel Defense, it's that sort of deal. So AO Precision, there's no markings on it. It's just a straight phosphate or whatever, the coating is, bolt. But supposedly it's on your same level as your high ends, your LaRues, your BCMs, like that. So anyway, but I better let you go, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna just head us out here, and we're probably alone, but it's okay. It can be viewed later right here on the channel. So thanks for everybody that has joined us or will join us later on in America for tonight, this July 5th here on 2018. So, and as always, for Kansas Gun Community, and by the way, just to give another plug for all these guys that have joined us, Williams Gun Works out of Wichita was on. Get a hold of them. That's in williamsgunworks.com, or check them out on Instagram or Facebook, etc., IG, of course, and then John over at Crusader Arms channel on YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram. Then Fit and Fire on all the social media as well. And follow these guys and check them out. I know KS Gun Guy too. There's some really great guys here in the state, and we have some really great opportunities too, and great companies like Free State Armament, like Fort Scott Munitions, like Trofence Munitions, like Graham Precision. We're blessed. So, yeah, check them all out, and always, as always, stay safe and stay Kansas proud. We'll see y'all later.
Have a good one, guys.